Hello, this is Cloplog321 and this is going to be my third tutorial. Now, today we're going to talk about more on the if, then, and else statement. We're going to talk more ways on commenting. I'm going to introduce you to the array and to a function that's very useful. Now, as you saw yesterday, you can comment by using the two forward slashes. Now, if I type anything in here, it's not going to be executed. Another way you can comment things is by using a kind of block comment, which you can include many things, but it ends with a asterisk forward slash and starts with the forward slash asterisk. Now I can do all sorts of things that could be perfectly valid, and of course I'm not going to be executed. I can type anything in here, but if I had tried to do the same thing with here, as you can see, it's not within the comments jurisdiction. Now, some other things can include using the number sign for things. However, I usually do not, and I don't suggest it because I do not have much experience with it. Now, an interesting thing with the block comment is that you can also do some special things with it, like within lines. Now, as you saw yesterday, I had a couple things like string, well, not named that, but equals something, and then I had another statement like tacos equals rolls. Now, I could possibly do another thing like toenails stink. Pretty simple, eh? Well, if I want to take out the middle part but still retain the code there, if I wanted to retain it in the future or use it in the future but just not use it for now, I can comment it with a block comment, but it only does it while it's open. Therefore, I still have these two statements, but the middle one is taken out. If I tried to do something like this, it would take out the entire line. The block comment is a bit more versatile, kind of like how the double quotes are more versatile. Now, I'm going to go on the if and else thing. If you, as I've already shown you, where if works by comparing things. Now, we're going to check, does it equal D or DD? Well, we know that is DDD, or 3Ds, right now, and this part we know will not happen, but we're just going to put something in here anyway. So we're going to say it is DD, and then else, echo, it is not. Now, we're just going to put single quotes around it for now and save it. It is not DD. Now, if we change this to DD, then we can say it should do the first one and saying it is DD. See? Now, let's say we're not trying to do strings, but a number per chance. Now, you can have, let's say, tires again equals 4. Now, do we want to say if the tires only equals 4? Then we just do this, and it will execute that. However, we're trying to say if it's greater than 3, then it's really simple like that. But if you think about this, if you want to do 3 as well, then you could do greater than or equal to. Now, we're going to say you ordered more than 3 tires. And we're going to save it and check out Firefox here, and that's true. However, if we put 2 there for the value, refresh it, then since I did not put an else, nothing happened. But if I do and say you stink and save that, then it shows you stink. And that's just kind of the basics of it. But if you're trying to say else if, because you can have multiple things, let's say the tires are less than 1, but greater than so right here we are checking if just a second. Now, as you can, if you're thinking about this, the else only applies to this certain if. we're going to need to put another else to apply to the last if it does not fall, if it is 1 or more but also less than 3. So we're going to say you still stink, and end it there. Oh, and then we need to put echo here because we need to make it do that, otherwise it's just going to leave it as just a statement there that doesn't do anything. And then we still see it, and then it says you still stink. Well, let's say you got 0 tires. Well, then if we go here and refresh, you got 0 tires. Now let's just say we want to get a value from the internet address. Well, we can do request, and then we can say tires for the variable and save it. However, in my previous tutorial it showed that if you do not set this beforehand, like if you do not check if it exists, then you may have a warning. So I'm going to do if is set, and I'm going to just paste that in there, and move the block quote over here. Then it will set the tires. Else, I'm going to say tires equals -1, just because I can. And then I'm going to go here and say, well, obviously it defaults to -1, which is less than 1 in the first place, so it says 0. And if I say into the link, I say tires equals 3, then I ordered more than 3 tires, but the statement is actually 3 or more tires, so it applies here. But if I do 2, now I'm going to introduce you to the array, which is a handy thing. Let's say names. We're going to say it is an array, so we're going to define it as an array first. Now, if we want to add to into the names array, we can do a quick add-on, which is but you have to make sure that if you're doing this right here, if you're setting something like Joe for your name, you have to make sure that this exists before this does. Otherwise you're going to have a problem because it's trying to set something to an array that already exists. It doesn't do it by default for you. Now if I also say names equals or add-on equal to Robert, and I save that, then the names variable will both contain Joe and Robert. But how do we retrieve them? Well, digitally everything starts with a 0. So if we're going to say echo names, and then within this we're going to put 0 for which one it's going to grab out of the set. So it should tell me Joe. And if I change this to 1, then it's going to tell me Robert. Now, what if I want to say I have a bunch of names but I don't know how many there are? Well, I can count the names by using a function called count. Pretty self-explanatory. And it's going to say there are 2 items in this array. Now, another thing is when you're debugging, this is a very useful function, and that's called print_r. It will print it in a human readable form about the variable, and if I refresh, it says it is an array. The first value, which is 0, or identified by 0, is Joe, and the item identified by 1 is Robert. Now, so how is that useful to me? Well, what if you had what if you were working with a database in the future and you set the manager to Robert and Joe was the peon, and you didn't remember, and you thought that the IDs worked or the identifications worked, but it's not the same when you set it as a string for an identification key. Now if I refresh, it's going to say the item identified by peon is Joe, and the item identified by manager is Robert. Now I could say, and let's take this off, and I'm going to say the manager of the store is, and then I'm going to add names, and I'm going to say manager. and then I'm going to say, and his lowly servant is, and then I'm going to add the peon, which is Joe. I need to put in peon. Because if you try putting in Joe, that doesn't work, because what it's set to and what is identified by are not the same. Now if I go and do this, the manager of our store is Robert and his lowly servant is Joe. And that's mainly all for today. In the future I'm going to introduce you to more things about the array and how you can use functions like count and print r. But I mainly showed you how to use print r right there. And that's it. Signing off. Blah blah 3 2 1.